All right, you know football's close because ESPN put together their future rankings. They do this every year right around now. The focus is on the next 3 years, basically.
The next 3 years, not this coming season. The next 3 years. Interesting.
It accounts for this upcoming season, but it goes 24, 25, and 26 seasons.
Yes. So again, they're not looking at just this year. They're looking at a 3-year window. That's different.
This is the sort of thing that, like the Chiefs, they have number one with an overall score of 95.3. And I'll get down to how they did this in a second. But it's the sort of thing that if you're a Chiefs fan, you don't care about this kind of stuff, right? Because
Right.
you're living in the moment right now. But if you are a fan of a team like the Cardinals or, the Bears, teams like that are kind of on their way up in theory, this, maybe more than any of the other rankings out there, seems meaningful. Now, they went through and they ranked based on, they did the score of 100, 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, just like regular school grades.
Right.
And they went through on a few different categories, including quarterback, non-quarterback roster makeup, front office, and coaching staff. So they separated quarterback from the rest of the roster.
Right.
Okay.
That's really interesting as well, right? Just an overall grade, Basinonians, an overall rank, of course, overall roster, quarterback, coaching, and front office. Interesting. A different approach, I would say, than we've seen, especially when you consider the 3-year window.
Yeah, I like the 3-year window part of it. They have the Cardinals still 28, though, so I don't love that part as much.
Well,
I can give you, as far as their grades, they have the front office as the Cardinals' biggest strength. They give the Cardinals front office a 76.3.
yeah, and once again, until you start winning, Basinonians, this is the way that it's going to go. Until you prove it, this is the way that it's going to go. You're going to get these national entities that are going to look at you and say, yeah, you're number 28. Go prove it. Go prove that you're not 28. See, this to me is the very thing that it should never matter to a player anyways. It should never matter to a player what entity, what media entity in particular that is out there is saying about you or saying about your team. You should worry more about yourself than some entity, some media entity that is out there giving you a grade. That's what always drove me nuts. Give me the guy who doesn't care about that. Give me the guy who cares about himself, who's internally
Don't you think
motivated.
a list like this, though, I mean...
This is for us.
Yeah, players don't care about this, do they? Especially because in the NFL...
there are some players who do watch this stuff and do care about this stuff. There are some players.
Something like this, too. I mean, you might not even be on the team in 3 years, But either way, the outlook for the Cardinals, I know it has them 28th, but it does have a pretty positive outlook. They speak favorably of Kyler Murray in the direction there. Like I said, the front office, they gave the highest score. They gave the score that brought them down was overall roster minus quarterback, which kind of goes to your point, Wolf, of you are an unknown and you haven't been winning, so you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. And that's what happened here. I would hope, though, over the next 3 years that the Cardinals, I would hope they're a playoff team 2 of those 3 years. Is that fair? Because that's what I'm hoping, at least 2 of those 3 years. I would hope you get close this year, and then either you're in this year, and then it's 3 of the next 3. I mean, you have to account for injuries and weirdness of the NFL.
Yeah, I know.
But I would hope this team is trending. I'm not like sitting here saying, "Oh, Super Bowl, that's good." But
so
you
I'm
should be
sitting
making
here.
the playoffs.
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about, their offensive line. There's going to be some guys that are going to be rolling off their offensive line after this year. Maybe they might re-up them. Budda Baker, of course, that is a big question mark that is out there right now. I think they are a relatively young team. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And because of that, I think that 3-year window is there. If they're going to make it 2 times, why not 3?
Hey, I'll take it.
Now again, this is the...
I thought you were going to say 2 was too high.
But once again, this is the year. This is the year that if they're going to miss it, I think this would be the year that they're going to miss it.
Yeah, there's got to be, and I think there will be some tangible progress, though. Like you were saying yesterday, you're hoping for 9 wins this year. I mean, I would. Sure. I can tell you right now, I'm going to be really disappointed if they don't hit at least 8. And I don't say like at least 8 in the back of my mind thinking, hey, maybe 13.
I said 9.
Yeah, I know you said 9.
Okay, good.
I was going to go one low.
Right.
I think they're in that 7 to 10 range, and they better be in that range or they're going to have some problems.
Yeah, but, again, I really expect, I cannot wait to watch this team play for all the reasons we've been talking about all offseason right now. This is the year that I would think if they are going to miss getting into the postseason, it would be this year. Because I think with their young players, especially from this draft class, remember, year 2 is so much better. Typically, for most rookies in the NFL, year 2 is so much better than year 1. That's why the C.J. Stroud thing is really, really interesting. But it's the position he plays that changes everything for me, because it's so difficult to be a great quarterback. It's so hard to be that. 1 year does not make you a great quarterback. You got to do it 2 years in a row. But having said that, again, that's a different position, and it's much more demanding than a lot of the other positions that are out there. Much more demanding.
Yeah. I used to believe that the second year in a professional sport was always better than the first until this year happened with Corbin Carroll. And now it's, to your point, with C.J. Stroud.
The sophomore slump has been around for a long time.
I mean, wouldn't you say C.J. Stroud is kind of like the NFL equivalent of Corbin Carroll?
Yes, I would say that.
They were just incredible as rookies.
Because of the position he plays, though, once again.
All right, reasons for optimism. They go through, they do reason for hope, reason for concern, and they give you a stat to know. We'll just focus on the reason for hope. Dan Graziano writes in this write-up for the Cardinals, the Cardinals could be a sneaky great offense as early as this season. Talks about Kyler coming back from the ACL injury last season, so he's already gotten to play a little bit. Obviously talks about the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr. Looking at this team as we head into camp, Wolf, what's your biggest reason for optimism with the Cardinals?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, man. It's because I saw Kyler Murray develop as a quarterback and as a person, as a player, and I saw this offense evolve because of that. That is, I said it at the time too last year, and I know you'll remember this, Luke, but I said it at the time. I'm encouraged because Kyler was encouraged. You could hear it in his voice.
Yeah.
Our first indication that Kyler Murray was going through some type of change, Basin Onions, our first indication was when he was actually playing and how positive he sounded. Even though it was a rough season, even though he was 3-5 as a starter. You could hear it in his voice, and we commented at that time how you could hear in his voice. There's something's going on with Kyler Murray. There was a change. He was encouraged, and that encouraged me.
I think the biggest thing for me with this team is now we don't know what the ceiling is. And for the last 2 seasons, it felt like we kind of knew. I mean, last year it was understandable, and I think Cardinals fans actually were remarkably patient as a fan base last year, saying, okay, we're going to see some changes, and that's great, and we're trying to play the long game here. Cardinals fans knew and I think handled pretty well that last year was sort of just a transition year.
Yeah.
But like the year before and the year before that, like the offense started to get really predictable. I don't know. It felt like there was a time like in Kyler Murray's second year maybe, or maybe even the start of that 2021 season where they were 10-2, where it's like, yeah, there's not a lot of quarterbacks like him. Who knows what this team could potentially do? I would say for the last 2.5 seasons, we've all known what the ceiling was. And this year, I feel like that's gone. Whether it's because you added Marvin Harrison Jr., it's partially that. It's partially what you're saying about Kyler Murray. We don't totally know his ceiling anymore. And I think there's a lot of optimism around Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing in particular. We know there's optimism from Kyler Murray about Drew Petzing because he told us that.
Yeah.
There's optimism around Nick Rowell. Like there's a lot of there's just an unknown ceiling, which is usually it's a good thing with a football team.
Look, as much as I hate to admit it, okay, if you were going to boil this season down to one thing coming out of the end of the funnel, it'd be Kyler. That's what it would be.
Wolf always just wants to talk about quarterbacks.
And I know it drives me nuts. And this is the one thing I will give him credit for. Reason for concern. This team will go as Murray goes. And I think they're right.
I'm trying to think of the last time I heard him called Murray.
Well, I'm reading
I know,
what they had.
When you said Murray, I had to think for a second.
Yeah, I know. Kyler.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.